Hi, I'm Miles.
And I'm Marika.
And this is I Don't Know What I'm Doing.
'Cause we don't!
Hi, guys.
Hey!
We always start the week with our fails. There's cute dogs outside. The sun is shining.
Oh, it's spring. It's St. Patty's Day.
It is St. Patrick's Day. But I actually know what my fail is. So
Oh my
I feel like
God.
we always make Marika go first because I'm like, I don't
usually
know.
Miles does not know his fail.
Yeah. So my fail this week is that I'm 31.
Okay.
Basically, so on Friday, we were alerted to an opportunity at our work. Me and my partner at work, Marty, he's the art director, I'm the copywriter. And our, big...
Just to clarify, does he draw it out?
Photoshop.
Okay, got it.
He does Photoshop, and I do Google Docs typing, basically.
Okay.
It's what that looks like in 2019.
Okay.
No, Marty actually can't draw. A lot of art directors can't draw. They can just computer really well. So... we were alerted to this opportunity at work that our CCO nominated Marty and I to. So basically, Cannes is not just a film festival; it's also a big deal for advertising. Like if you win a Cannes Lion, that's like winning the Oscar for advertising. So Marika's her eyes are so wide right now that I even am mentioning Cannes in reference to anything.
God, my heart. Continue.
Remember, this is a fail. So our boss. Or CCO nominated Marty and me, and he's like, I want them to go to this 5-day program in Cannes where you learn advertising stuff, and then you get to go to all the other Cannes stuff. And the advertising stuff, not the film stuff.
Oh, doesn't matter.
So it's Dentsu Aegis is our holding company. They're only sending 8 people total, and there's more people in the running than those 8 people, including us. So we would have to compete to get one of those spots by making a video. And by making a 4-slide PowerPoint of our best work and why. Here's the twist. This is a 30 under 30 piece of bullshit. So we get nominated. I pull up that doc and I'm like, this says you have to be 29 or under by June 22nd. And I'm literally turned 29 2 years ago. I am definitely not under 30. And Marty's like, yeah, I saw that. I don't know why if that matters. So we go to our coworker who was part of the nomination process, and she's like, oh my gosh, what? I thought you were both... Because Marty's 25.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, this is totally our mistake. We only pulled Marty's birth date, and then we were just assumed that you guys were both eligible. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm old. And then we were like, can we just pretend I'm not 31 or something? But I don't want to get, and my company doesn't care. They don't care how old I am, but they made some phone calls and they're like, Cannes is really strict on this kind of thing.
Oh my
It's very much they want it to be a 30 under 30 thing. And Quentin, who was on our podcast, he got into advertising late too. I think he got into advertising. I got hired when I was 29, and I think Quentin got into advertising in his early 30s, and he was like, this is such bullshit.
Right.
We all come into this at different times. Why can't you take this opportunity?
Right.
So I just kind of put on a good face, and I was like, we still have to get Marty to go. So I helped Marty film his video, and it didn't really hit me until I was biking home how disappointed I was. Because even with filming the video, I was like, I wish because I love doing videos. I was like, I wish I were in this video with Marty, and I wish we were making this script together, and I wish that we were a team on this, and I can't because I'm born in 1988,
No, it's not because of that. It's because of this dumb fucking rule. Miles, stop blaming yourself and blame Cannes.
No, I know. I'm it's both. It's partially why didn't I realize this is what I wanted to do earlier? Partially 30 under 30 is bullshit.
At least you found it. I haven't fucking found my passion yet. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Besides sales, I guess. I don't know. Anyways.
You guys catch us in the 100 under 100 list?
It should be... That's so shitty. It should be 40. People under 40 or 35 or something like that.
Or just people that are new to advertising. That's what it should be. It's we've both been in advertising only for a year and a half, and we showed enough that we could get nominated, and that's all that should matter. But
right. Huh.
Marika, you're a fan?
Oh, guys, this week, these past 48 hours have been very intense.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm realizing that I'm very slow at doing my homework. Like, I like to do it in chunks. And I have to do a discussion post, and then I have to do my part of our group's project proposal or whatever, right?
What class is this?
Organizational business or whatever.
That's the name of the class?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. So, I have my 9-to-5 job, and then I work on the weekends, and this weekend, to work a double. I have to open the bar on Saturday and I have to close.
Ew.
And I'm just tired even talking about it. And I bring my computer to work. I'm trying to do it.
You're trying to do your homework while you're working at the bar?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And my dad's giving me shit a little bit. So I try to do it at the bar and it's not really working, so I just do it on my phone. I'm trying to type things on my phone. And I'm like, is that work? I'm like, no, I have to do homework. My laptop was out and then he what is that? I'm trying to do homework. And then I go to my phone and it's like, is that part of work? I'm like, no, it's homework. I was so angry. And these customers at the bar were like, whoa. I was getting very emotional and I wanted to break down and cry and I wanted to fucking leave. You know what? I can fucking leave right now. You should be very thankful that I'm here.
You're that I'm here doing my homework at your bar, Dad.
That I'm covering this shift when I technically don't need to or need this job.
Rika, you don't need this job. Rika, you don't need this job.
I know, but I like the money. It's very easy money.
Okay, but remember what we were told freshman year of high school by Mrs. Donnet. A job, you are trading your time for money. Do you have that time to trade anymore?
Okay, so the fail is I fucking said yes to a double when I fucking forgot that I have school also as my fourth job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the podcast is your fifth job.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't. I'm so tired and exhausted. And the team leader texted me at 11:30 and he's like, I'm waiting. Basically. Yeah. And I'm and when he sent that text, a few minutes earlier, my laptop died and I did not bring the charger. And I was just so mad at him and myself and instead of doing a discussion post that took all week to do because I wanted to be perfect or whatever, I should have done my part of the group project. And
yeah.
So, thank God I'm realizing that at week 2 and not week 3 or 4. So, yeah, lesson learned, start the group project first, and then the discussion post can come later because it doesn't really fucking matter as much. Because that's on me. That's my... Yeah. I'm letting down my fucking group, and I feel really shitty about it, and I'm just so fucking tired.
I think that you should stop going to the gym and get fat, stop working at your dad's bar and be poor, and just work at your 9-to-5 and do school.
Yeah.
What if you just envision what your life would be if that were that? You had your whole...
All I think about is being fat.
Okay, maybe not maybe the gym, but if you cut... And then you just have your weekends free, and you're not juggling. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I love that for you. I love
you
that.
Guys, what is wrong with me? I'm complaining how tired I am.
But
and then Miles is you're just doing that to yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm
I limit myself. My friend asked me to join his kickball league this spring, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm only going to commit to 2 weeknight things. I'm not going to do a third. He wanted to do it on Sundays. I was like, we have the podcast. I'm I just want to do podcast, Korean, band. Those are my extracurriculars.
Okay.
I know that more than that, it will be crazy.
Let's go with my extracurriculars.
You guys think about your extracurricular. I don't know why I called it that, but...
No, you call it that because that's what they've been calling it for the past, fucking 20 years of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to the gym.
Uh-huh. Oh, at gym too, but that usually slides.
Yeah.
Gym, Korean, and the podcast fight each other for dominance, and yeah.
Going to the gym, my bar job, Lagunitas job, school, and the podcast.
Yeah.
I have 5 extracurriculars.
It's too many.
What has to be eliminated?
Yeah. Or 2. Okay, so we're gonna transition to our topic now, which is I don't know how to be creative. But before we get into that, we have a guest.
Expert.
This is our first expert, you guys. Yes.
It's
She
nice,
was my teacher at Chicago Portfolio School, but she's like so much more than that, and she's like just you guys will understand. But like this is Megan.
Yay!
Hi.
Yay! Hi everyone. I'm Megan.
Yeah. Yeah. Marika, why did you want to do this topic?
How to be creative, because I really don't know how to do that. I just don't know how to do that. So.
But don't you? You come up with a lot of our topics for the show. You guys, Marika comes up with a lot of mostly the topics often.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm struggling. I think my perception of what's creative is different from other people. And I think maybe that's a problem. Maybe.
Okay, so what does that mean? That you think that your definition of creative process or coming up with creative ideas is different from other people? When you think of somebody being creative, you think of like an artist or a musician or what Miles does for
Sure.
working in advertising.
Yeah.
And then the second piece is, and they also seem to have all this confidence when it comes to doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like when you say like I create all the topics, I'm like, yeah, I do, but I guess it's a form of creative to like being creative, but it's really not. Like you writing a script and having like executing an idea and a message, that's really being creative. That in my eyes, and like you're very confident in your idea on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I mean, I think they're both creative. Like, a script is essentially born out of just, like, an idea. Like, when I did that commercial for Brita with Stephen Curry and Anwar, the idea was, what if Stephen goes to Anwar's house for the holidays and Anwar plays all the members of his own family? But there was no script yet. It was just, like, this little bud of an idea. But that's the same thing when you come up with topics. You're just like, what if we talked about...
I don't know why I think that's different.
And then it blooms into something.
It's probably because you don't think that you're working in official creative capacity, so you're not you don't think that there's a recognition that it is creative, or you're not even recognizing it yourself. That it's creative.
Yeah.
But it actually is creative thinking when you're sitting there coming up with these different topics, because in advertising we call it conceptual thinking, because you're relating it to a human experience, like human behavior, like. What is the experience? How does it relate to other human beings? How do you respond to it both internally and then also externally with what's happening in society? Yeah, so it's actually, you are being very creative.
Oh, thanks.
Oh my god. This is just gonna be like a validation episode.
Yeah, it could be a validation episode.
Thanks, guys.
I think people a lot of times are way more creative than they think they are. That they're actually engaging in a creative process more than they think.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Well, I remember I read that book in college, The Creative Class. I don't really remember it super well, but I remember he split job industries into like, there's agriculture, there's the service industry, there's like working, like factory type of job, and then there's creativity. And he put like doctors in there, teachers, lawyers, because they have to think abstractly and pull a lot of things together into one diagnosis or one case or one lesson.
Yeah, like a lot of times scientists would be considered creative because they have to help take an abstract idea and bring it down from the ether and have it be something that you can actually physically use in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we can talk about procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because you had brought up some good examples, because you were like, how do you deal with procrastination and how do you deal with the frustration when you actually come up with something and then you want to execute it?
Yeah. Well, for me, like, I procrastinate because I get frustrated with the whole process of being creative sometimes. Like, for homework, for example, like, I don't know what I'm doing yet and trying to figure that out. And I haven't figured it out yet, so I'm just going to ignore it, put it over there.
When you say you don't know what you're doing yet, what does that mean? Like, you're still not getting used to the topic yet? You still don't have a grasp of
I don't have a grasp of what I need to write. I like writing. Sometimes I just, like, type things out sometimes just to see, like, does that make sense? And then, because I was, explaining to Miles earlier, like, I like working, like, in chunks rather than, like, a whole long, like, process, because it seems, like, overwhelming to me. And then I get frustrated, and then I procrastinate, and it's like, nothing gets done. So, Yeah.
But if you're working in chunks, something is getting better.
Wait, no, but like before I wasn't doing that. Like now I have.
Before the chunk system.
Before the chunk system.
Yeah, the chunk method.
Yeah, the chunk method. I was not. I was just thinking like, okay, I'm gonna spend 8 hours on homework. Like during college, like oh yeah, it's gonna. And then I'm like, I don't know. No, it's really hard.
Because it's not natural to just like buckle down for 8 hours.
Right.
Like it's just not human.
Yeah, a lot of people learn bad habits in college thinking like, oh, I'm so much better when I'm under pressure and I'm going to do the assignment last minute.
Yeah.
It's actually way healthier to break down. The chunk method is actually way better and actually way more sustainable and way more in line with how your brain actually wants to work.
Yeah.
Like it wants to work hardcore for about an hour, then it wants a break, and then you work hard again, and you take a break.
Right.
And a lot of times when you're in your own creative, like when you have to problem solve and you have to edit, you have to do everything with it, you need time to be able to step back from it, take a look at it, so then you can look at it more with an objective viewpoint to pinpoint where you need to self-correct.
Yeah.
So
for
actually, you're already discovering what your creative process is.
Took a long time to get there.
Well, because you're inundated with a certain mindset for so long,
Right.
a certain behavior that you're like, you think, oh, this is the way I've been working for so long. I don't even know that there's another way.
Right.
Until you happen to trip on it.
Right.
Oh, there actually.
Yeah, because then I feel I was started like in college, like okay, if I don't get this done, like a good amount of work done today, like I started feeling bad about myself, and I'm like, then I just don't want to do it at all again, and you know.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and then the guilt compounds it.
Right, but doing it in chunks, I'm like, okay, I actually did some work today, like then I'm ready to do it the next day or etc. Like yeah.
Yeah, it's a battle between the ego and the internal voice.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And a lot of times also I thought you brought up a very good point when you were talking about how it's like, well, I'm not creative, but you guys are, a musician is, or an artist is.
Yeah.
And that, I call it the theory of the magical leprechaun. Like a lot of times people think that we're sitting around like, oh, just like come up with an idea, come up with an ad, come up with a song, whatever, and that we just sit in a corner and we fart it out. And actually, that's not the way it works. It doesn't work like that.
No.
Wait, I know there's a lot of hard work involved.
It is a lot of hard work, but people think that when we come up with the ideas that it's like this magical leprechaun kind of sensibility to it, that it's like...
Or it's like born perfect.
It's
like,
born perfect, or that it comes to us from God or something, like it comes to like in a vision or something, you know, like there's some sort of magical thing going with it.
Because that's how I feel when I like get a great idea. It's like, oh my God, why did I not think about this before?
Well, that's because that's your ego getting out of the way so you can actually take in the ideas. Because a lot of times what happens is when people are, they have an assignment or something that they have to actually have an end result. A lot of times, like in the creative industries, you'll hear stories all the time where like, oh my God, we were sitting in that room for like an hour and we were so frustrated we didn't come up with anything. And then all of a sudden I had to get up and go to the bathroom, and when I came back, the idea came. It's because
I think of so many ideas on the way to the bathroom.
Yeah, because your brain you allow your brain to take the break, so then the ideas can actually.
You need to do that more often, like when you get so frustrated and overwhelmed at work.
I get frustrated at work because I'm a writer, especially when I'm writing a script with dialogue and we have an open office plan, and I'm like, I need to speak out loud to see how it sounds when it comes out of my mouth. It can't all sit in my head.
Yeah. You need to figure out the cadence and.
Yeah, and I'm like, we have literally no private. We have the phone room.
Absolutely, all
it's
the time.
like,
same thing happens to me. Or also, you get so focused on something, and somebody comes up to you and just totally jars you out of what you're doing. There's so many problems I have with office culture.
The open
when it
office,
comes to, you know, it's not intuitive for the creative process, actually, at all, in my opinion.
No, you need like quiet, closed off spaces and stuff.
Well, and when you can be in an office space just with you and your art director, so it's like your own little honeycomb of space of what you're working on. Yeah, this whole open office system is not really great for creatives.
No, I'm like shaking my head. No. Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to point out, because you had some interesting questions about like, oh my God, how are you creative, is when somebody is being creative, like an artist or a musician or as a creative in an ad industry and stuff.
I'm always like, sure.
Sure, I'm the representative.
Sure.
Miles is the representative of creative in an ad agency.
Yep.
They're working within certain parameters. So a lot of times when people think about being creative, they think like, you could do anything. But actually it's not about doing anything, it's about doing something specific. And then actually when you're focusing on something specific, that helps you come up with the ideas.
Yeah, I feel like having boundaries
Yes, you have to
really
have boundaries.
helps you.
Yeah.
Humans need boundaries to work within. And then it's within parameters. That's where you come up with the ideas.
Right, exactly.
Like, for instance, in Miles' case, he has to think about the brand that he's working with. So he has to think about the identity of that brand. What are they trying to do?
Their audience.
Their audience. The audience is so important, which, of course, I used to shove down my students' throat all the time. And the emotional connection between that brand and that audience is so important.
Yeah.
And then you have to consider, well, what's their budget? What kind of mediums are they trying to use? And then tell those stories within those mediums.
Right.
So you are very focused on exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because you also have deadlines. So you have to produce. There's no like, if it doesn't work.
Yeah. But I like deadlines, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to go into advertising, because my former job when I worked at a private school in Chicago, like, I met with my boss once a year. That was our once a year meeting. And otherwise I was just left on my own to like work. I was a technology facilitator in a middle school.
So you weren't a teacher.
No, I was staff.
Okay.
So it was a K through 12 school. I ran the middle school computer lab. Sometimes I did 4th and 5th too. Well, this one year they made me do like 5 grades. It was a lot. I ran the computer lab, and then I was a resource to teachers. So the teachers would pull me to their Spanish class, and I would teach the thing on an iPad, or I would edit something for teachers, or I would like help them think of new tech stuff. But like, it had to be completely self-motivated, which I hated because I wasn't passionate about the job. So without passion, and you have to self-motivate, it's just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go on Facebook for like 3 hours because it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, if I don't do my job, it literally doesn't matter. The teachers will just keep on doing their non-tech classes. So yeah. Which even though my boss like loved me, and he was like, "Oh, Miles, like, how do we keep you? I can't believe you're leaving." I'm like, somebody else could do a way better job than me. Like, what? What did I do for 3 years?
Maybe he had a crush on you.
Okay, we'll like edit this out, but like maybe. But I don't know. He definitely said I was handsome like 2 different times, which is always weird when like a straight man says that. Straight man says that to you. I'm just like, what's happening?
No, but maybe he's like breaking boundaries, you know?
I don't know.
You should say that to other men. That's okay.
We're not there yet, but
we should be.
No, so when I was looking at a career change, and I looked at advertising, and then I looked at my friend, Shireen, but was like, come down to New Orleans and like work in costume design for film with me, and like that was my other option.
Wow.
I'm just like I'm an okay sewer though, so I was like, you know what, advertising, like I want deadlines. I want to work on a team. I'm a twin. I really like having another person to bounce things with. I'm like, I want to have a partner. I want deadlines. I want to present because I really like presenting. I want to be creative. Like, it hit all the things that by working at the middle school job, I realized like what I wanted.
You felt too isolated working in the middle school.
Felt really isolated, yeah.
Yeah. Although it sounds like at that school you would have had the freedom to come up with, new programs and stuff like that, and they probably would have gladly executed them if there was within a certain budget and time.
Oh yeah, they had the money to do like anything. I just wasn't passionate about it, so I wasn't like looking for opportunities.
Right. You have to feel like there's a purpose. You have to feel like I'm being driven by something internally, like this satiates something inside me internally.
Right.
Yeah, which advertising does for sure.
I'm so happy for you.
I know. Well, my first my like first week of portfolio school, I was like, oh my god, like I kept waiting to regret it, especially because I just gave them like $4,000. I kept waiting to be like have the buyer's remorse, and I like never did.
Oh my god!
Because I was like having too much.
Right.
Because I was having too much fun, like.
Aww, that's cute.
What was fun about it?
I had basically just always been.
Besides my class.
Yeah, besides Megan's class, first quarter. I had just always been creative and always had a lot of ideas. Like, I'd had, like, blogs, and, like, even when I worked at the middle school, like, they would have me make the 6th grade skit every year, so I'd have to write the script, literally write the script, cast it, film it, edit it in, like, 2 days. Like, so I loved, like, I always loved things like that, but it was, like, a small part of a bigger job that was mostly boring. Mm-hmm. And then portfolio school felt like, oh my god, the fun creative part is the entire meat and potatoes. Like, we built that into, that's all you have to do now is like come up with headlines and brainstorm and
ideate.
Yeah, and it was like and I'm like, oh shit, that's all I ever wanted to do. I thought that was like the little sprinkle of like zest I was adding to an otherwise boring job. Then I realized the zest could be its own job. Mm-hmm. So
So how do you deal with frustration at work, like coming up with ideas or what they call writer's block or anything like that?
I mean, I don't really get I feel like I don't get usually too frustrated at things not happening because I realize they're not going to always happen fast. And you can't really always force it to happen. Like, I like to take a lot of breaks. That's why I realize, like, when I get up to go to the bathroom, that is when I often think of things. Yeah. I don't know if I have an answer for this one. I just don't.
Like, I'm perfect.
No, I'm not perfect. Like, if I have to come up, well, it's like, I think because I went to portfolio school, I know what I can do. Like, I know I can come up with 100 headlines. So if I have an assignment where I have to come up with 50 lines for, like, some hotel breakfast program, like, I know I can get to 50. Maybe I just can't get to it in an hour. Because I know, and that's what I realized in school, too. Like, I'm not the fastest. Some people are faster than me at writing, and I know that about myself, so I'm like, I'm not going to try to beat myself up that I can't think that fast.
A good point, because I'm now understanding, like, yeah, I'm starting to realize, like, I'm not a quick learner. I'm just not. It takes me a minute for me to grasp something, and I need more of a hands-on training kind of thing, hands-on experience to learn something. And I always, before I would get, like, very frustrated and down myself, that, like, how come other people are getting this more quickly than me? But I'm like, no, it's just the way your brain works.
Well, I don't know if it necessarily means that you're not a quick learner. It's that
I'm definitely not.
it probably needs to be more of like, you've got to have physical examples in front of you, or you need to be able to collaborate with somebody else to be able to see it, because otherwise it seems too much like it's in the ether or too abstract.
Right. Examples. Yeah. Examples is the best way I, like, learn in. Yeah.
You, Marika, I'll come up with another good question. You're like, how do you try and convince someone, what was it? How do you convince somebody whose ideas that you don't like, or that you're not agreeing with somebody else over the ideas?
Right.
So it's like you're trying to sell them.
Yeah. And, like, or, like, when I think of an idea, I'm like, oh my god, everyone's gonna love this idea, and then, like, it kind of, like, falls flat. I'm like, well...
You're stupid. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's not really a moment of them being stupid. They don't have an understanding of context.
Right.
Of where you're coming from.
Even though, like, for example, it's at my job, like, when we're getting closer to when school starts again, like, classes start again, we try to call our students and make sure, hey, are you excited? Classes are coming up, and, like, make sure they're still engaged and stuff like that. And, like, you know, we have this thing called Preview Week where basically the students are able to log in and see their classes and see where their assignments are and all that jazz. And, you know, some people are lazier than others where they, like, oh, hey, have you logged in yet? Have you done this? Blah, blah, blah. Instead of, like, actually walking them through all the steps, like, hey, how about you log in right now if you haven't done that already? Let's walk it through it together so you understand where everything is. Because it's a little complicated, kind of, you know? And it just, when I kind of, like, pitch that to a group, it falls on, like, they don't
deaf
really...
ears.
Deaf ears. There we go. And I'm like, and then you wonder why your student, like, doesn't want to go to school anymore because you didn't take the 3 to 5 minutes where they're able to log in on their phone or their computer to show them where that syllabus is and stuff, you know, and I'm like,
So you're saying you're actually having a hard time selling it to the advisors about what you're doing.
Yes.
Oh. Yes. Well, is that something where just so long as more and more students keep signing up through you, they'll naturally fall into place anyway?
No.
Is that something because are they supposed to be doing something that you're doing and that they get resentful thinking that you're stepping up? I guess I'm not completely understanding what the issue is.
Because sometimes, so when, obviously we have, like, it's a numbers game at my job, right? And when you apply a student, you want them to go all the way to the finish line to the first day of class. Otherwise, you'll have, like, people who drop and go MIA and things like that. And that kind of happens towards the end before classes start. And a way to prevent
what am I doing? Why did I think I could do this?
Exactly. Like, so a way to prevent that is to actually do this thing where you walk in, they, like, kind of do a step-by-step guide of, like, this is where your syllabus is, where you download your books, and, like, this app that you download to do the audio version of your books and stuff like that, where they're, like, they get more excited and they feel more prepared and stuff like that.
And empowered.
Yeah. And so, you know, and other advisors don't do it my way, and I just wish they did it my way, because they would have more success with the, people dropping type of thing. And they just kind of like out one ear, like in one ear out the other, and they're not, even though they're doing the same job as me, they're still not comprehending like this idea that I have. But I think I'm not saying it's a creative idea, but like I'm just saying, like I had to pitch this idea of like, hey, like this is the way I do it, and I'm successful because of this.
Well, maybe some of those other advisors don't think that they would be successful the way you are because they have a different type of personality, or they have a different type of... Some people view the world more authoritative than collaborative, and maybe they feel like, I have to make these students do this. It isn't about, I need to inspire the students to do this.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, what probably would help is, firstly, your first round is only going to be able to inspire advisors who see the world more similarly to how you view it, and how they view their position there.
No one does. No one like really does. Like, and it's a little bit frustrating sometimes. I don't know. It's a little bit frustrating because I guess you're right, because they don't see it the way I see it. And I'm like, if you take that little extra time, it would mean a lot to me as a student, where everything is, and like you actually care that I'm actually going to school. Like, I'm not saying that they don't, but it's just
make them feel like less of a number.
Yeah, and but because I'm like, I actually get really excited. I mean, I don't pretend. I actually really do get excited. Like, so, like, oh my god, like, yeah, I'm just, I don't know.
That's so lovely. Yeah. Because you see potential in the students. Yeah, and like, my god, you can take your career to another level and growth and all that.
Yeah.
Are you friends with any of the other advisors?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm like popular people like in the office.
What? Rika just flipped her hair.
Everyone knows me. Like, they know who I am. So, and that's like not...
So you're becoming a person of influence.
I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah. I would say I would have some lunches with some of the advisors that you like, that you think you have a good rapport with, and start asking some questions of why, to get a sense of where they're coming from, to find out what's important to them, that you then can help use as a way to figure out an insight that you can build.
Oh my god.
Rika's like making a note in her phone.
Yeah, because, as I'm approaching like my 1 year mark, like I'm trying to take a more of a leadership role. And maybe,
how exciting! That's so cool.
And one of them is like, kind of, I don't know, I want to do a training on like the preview week thing, and then also I got onto a new team, and our team is divided by like 2 aisles, and like I have a side and my coworker Crystal has a side, and we're kind of trying to do a rivalry competition every week, or I think it's every
to help
week.
Inspire the office.
To help inspire our team. Type of thing.
Are you gonna start wearing like power suits to the office?
I should probably.
Red is usually a pretty powerful color.
Yeah. we don't see power suits anymore except on like politicians.
I know.
But like let's bring it back to the office.
Bring it back. You should bring back big shoulder pads.
Yeah.
I should. Make my waist smaller.
Do it. Do it. Yeah, usually it's not about you, it's about what you can do for them.
Yeah.
And feeling them included, having them feel included in it, or feeling like they're understood, and you're like, this would work if you did this way, because this would be good for you, and then it only helps the numbers and the students, and we have lower turnover and dropouts, and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's totally what I've been wanting to do. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm also having a hard time since I'm kind of like a team leader, I guess, in my team, of like coming up with like incentives and games and like engagement. People engage is tough.
Yeah.
In a creative way.
It is tough.
Yeah.
It's like the hardest thing.
Usually the level is something smaller than something bigger, that people are interested in engagement. And usually if you start out small, then they get wooed into it. Now you're slowly influencing them, and then they want to engage more and more and more. You also want to see if a setup of being competitive is what people really want, or collaborative. is what they really want.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
what they want to do. Maybe they want to, like, somebody starts something and then other people help finish it, and before you know it, you see, like, look what we all made together.
Collaborative or
It's good to know where your teams are, where their heads are at in terms of how do they feel about coming to work day to day.
I think the competition versus collaboration is like interesting in advertising too.
Yes.
Because I'm more collaborative, and I think we in our office generally are, because, but at the same time we're all working on one assignment for the same assignment for the brand. Only one of our ideas can be chosen. Unless they combine our ideas, which
also happens
so
all the time.
dumb.
They call it Frankensteining.
Yeah, they do. They Frankenstein it together. But I've noticed it's like, I think there's an instinct to want to be like, to want to hold on to your idea, because if it ends up going somewhere, then you can put it in your book or in your portfolio, or you can get your name on that Cannes Lion statue. But owning an idea is impossible. Like, even the script, when I wrote the script for the Stephen Curry commercial, like, ultimately that script had my original skeleton, my boss wrote lines in it, my partner wrote lines in it, they improv lines on set, the actors changed lines, so, at the end of the day, I can't exactly say I wrote this anymore.
Well, and it also proves the fact that no man is an island, especially most of the time in most creative industries and most businesses and stuff like that. Like, especially advertising, it's a highly collaborative environment. The competition happens with people trying to push you to be productive. Mm-hmm. It's used as a technique a lot of times.
Oh.
But when you're in creative development, it's actually virtually impossible to be competitive. When you're in creative development, you have to be collaborative. You have to be open, because you have to practice a lot of the improv mandate of yes and. Mm-hmm. Like, what if we did this? Yes and blah blah blah. During creative development, you can't go, no, that sucks. No. Once you get into the editing execution side, that's when the competition comes out. That's when the editing. That's when you have to say no, because you have to make sure that it goes down a certain funnel, because you have a deadline. There's a price tag on it. There's a whole other world that it now has to be birthed into.
Mm-hmm. Should we talk about vulnerability? I feel like that's the one thing I still
That's good.
No, I hate that.
Yeah,
really?
you hate. Yeah,
Why do they talk about that?
No, Maria hates vulnerability.
I hate being vulnerable. It's so.
Really?
You hate it in general, or you hate it in love?
Or you hate it in yourself?
I hate it in general, because, like...
In anyone, or in yourself, or...
I just, like, when I'm thinking about work and how I should being more of a leader, I guess, I'm, like, feeling, like, I'm vulnerable in that way, because I'm, like, standing alone, and I have to rally people up, and I'm like, are people gonna even fucking listen to me or care?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because you feel like you're alone in it, but actually you're not. Because a great leader actually inspires people and understands that they have access to people.
Being, like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure to inspire people in my team, and I'm like,
yes.
you gonna listen to me?
But inspiring them by having them feel like they can be open and talk. So, like, for instance, one of these things about, like, the team leadership that you're trying to do and inspire people to do these incentives and these things every week. Right. What would be great to start out with was a brainstorming session. Like, listen, we're going to have some donuts and whatever. Like, things that people like to snack on. Food always makes a difference. Mm-hmm. A little noshy thing, like either at the start of the day, coffee and donuts, or at 3 o'clock when people start getting that kind of that itch to want to either take a break or go out, or like, I can't think anymore. And we're like, we're just going to do a half-hour powwow. And you come up with some fun questions. Obviously, you're great at coming up with questions because you do it for the show. Right. And you're like, what if we had to do blah, blah, blah? And maybe you have them like whiteboards all around, and you have people just kind of like laugh and play around and like, oh my god, I'm eating Skittles and drinking coffee and having soda and eating a donut, whatever. And like,
so much sugar.
Right? Like, jack them up on sugar, and you're like, what if we did blah, blah, blah? Write down your ideas, and now at least you have some thought starters to start with. And the idea of like, oh my god, Marika is so much fun to work with. I would love to blank for her.
Oh my god. Yes.
You have to remember, though, if you're trying to claim more leadership in the office, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to be this hardcore, iron-fisted, it's all about what I have to say, and you all have to execute my ideas, and everything I come up with is perfect.
I just want to be, like, respected, listened to. You don't have to, like, do it.
But Marika, people already do respect you. You're already very well liked in the office. Yes, you already said that. That's already the basis.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
You're probably in a way better space than you think.
Yeah, you're right. I am. Yeah.
But I want to talk about vulnerability because I have to be like very vulnerable because I work with a partner. Mm-hmm. So I can't be afraid that my ideas are stupid. I just have to say them. Or sometimes I don't know what I'm saying. Like, sometimes we're just sitting there and Marty and I are not saying anything because we're just thinking really hard, but nothing's coming. And then I'll just start speaking my half ideas, which don't make any sense at all, but sometimes they lead us somewhere. And I'll be like, I don't know, what if, like, we talk to, like, gay people? Because there's, like, a parallel to them and, like, the opioid crisis. There's, like, we keep, you know, it can start, that could be, like, that's not an idea, or it barely is, but then I have to give him something.
It's not an idea, but it's a thought starter. And the
Yeah.
idea is like then it slowly builds to where it's kind of like a trickling. It's like it starts out as a little trickle of a stream, and then it finally hits the river, and now you've got something ideas rushing, kind of.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, yeah, and that is because in creative development, you have to be willing to be vulnerable because you have to expose your ideas. You have to say, I don't know where this is yet or what it is yet, but you have to like keep yourself open to the journey at that point.
So what did we learn here?
I learned that I'm actually creative. Yeah, according to Megan.
I know. I'm very happy to hear you.
Expert. She's an expert. Okay. She's an expert. So yeah. What else?
I don't know. It was just cool to talk about like kind of what goes into your job too, Marika, your job and my job, like what really goes into it and all the Megan, you just made me think of like what are all the social dynamics and what is
seriously
that are really going into a workplace.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot of psychology and behavior.
Yeah.
And once you get a lay of the land in that and understand that context, it usually starts helping you navigate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I was always afraid of. Like when I worked in nonprofits initially after college, and I was like, I'm never gonna work for corporate America and work for the man and kiss up to the boss and like blah blah blah. I don't know why. I was really anti, and now that's exactly. I work in advertising, the most branded corporate thing you can do, and I am playing the game now. But I'm like, wait, but the game is fun.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh yeah.
It's fun to like get on people's good side and sell things and make people like you, and it's like
it's fun selling stuff and make people do stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Convincing people, persuading people, it's so fun. Yeah.
That's why I think you're going to be so great as a team leader and work your way up at the office, and I think you're going to be very successful too. Actually, I always knew that as a student. When you were a student.
Oh, we all did. Yeah.
I was just praying.
Really?
I was just
thought
praying.
you would be like, even before you started school, you told me like what you were doing. Like, oh, that's so perfect for Miles. Like, he's gonna be so great.
Yeah. Okay, so we every week we end with successes of the week. My success this week, I guess it's kind of two-part. So we did talk about my friend last week who passed away. Went to her funeral on Friday with my brother. We rented a car, drove to Kenosha. We actually drove the car in the funeral procession, which was like really fun because it was a Maven, and Maven is one of the brands I work on at work sometimes, and it just like honestly made me laugh because we write these emails about like Maven, be there, and like you can go camping with your Maven, and I'm like you can drive in a funeral procession with your Maven. So I felt really good that we went to the funeral, and a lot of people showed up, and you could tell it really meant a lot to the family that we were there, and they were like, Shireen talked about you guys all the time, and our photos were up on the whole photo board, and it was just like I was glad to go and glad that it like helped, and we talked to her mom a lot, and so that was really good. And then the other success is that Maven tried to charge us a $50 late fee for returning it 17 minutes late. To put it in perspective, our whole day renting it was only $65, so to tack on $50 for 17 minutes is insane.
Right.
So the next day, my coworkers were like, "You just call them, call them." And I like called and like laid out the whole situation and how we had trouble getting into the car at first, so that's kind of on Maven and then got the $50 waived. So
I kind of already mentioned the success already, unless Miles cuts it out.
I don't know. Well, I don't know what you're about to say. I don't know if I cut it out or not.
It's a vegetable shepherd's pie that I made for our Irish potluck at the office, and it was complicated. And you would think like a shepherd's pie is not complicated. You just make mashed potatoes, you just layer stuff, bake it in the oven.
Is there a crust involved?
No, there's no crust. Also, another reason why it wouldn't be complicated. But it's complicated because the recipe was like all these components just to make the sauce for the dish. The recipe also like pearl onions.
There's so much chemistry.
Yeah, there was like, get pearl onions. But even though you're gonna cook onions for the sauce and then throw them away.
What?
Yeah. So I had to get dry special mushrooms and like soak them in hot water to get like a mushroom type of broth so you could put it into the sauce for the pie. And they're asking like, oh, put like onions in that broth and the vegetable broth and like the mushrooms also. I'm like, I spent a lot of money on these ingredients, like, and I'm gonna throw half of them away for this stupid sauce? No! Just gonna leave them all in there. F that. Like, I was just like, okay, whatever. It was just like so dumb. And if you guys are cooks, you probably know that as you're like getting everything together, each component of your dish should have a flavor, right? Individually, and make sense together when they're all combined.
I believe you.
Okay, Miles can't cook.
Yes, I can. I just cook so simply and nowhere near what we're talking about.
Can I ask you a question? So when you make your chicken,
yeah,
do you only season one side of the chicken?
Okay, how am I supposed to flip it? Like, in what? Am I, like, marinating it?
Are you
like,
only eating one side of the chicken?
when I eat the piece, I'm eating the whole piece, but half it has a seasoning, so I'm getting it. It's all going in my mouth. Like,
do you understand like how better it is though if you season both sides of the chicken?
It's too bad that it's impossible to do that, and we haven't figured out a way to do that yet.
You use your hands or tongs?
So back to the pie.
I was making it and putting it all together. Like, I'm like, this is not gonna taste good. There's no flavor. I don't know where this flavor is coming from. And I brought it to the office and it turned out great. Everyone like loved it. Even people from like other regions, like from other sides of the office, like came and ate something. Like, oh my god, this is great. I'm like, yes, it is.
You should make that again. Like, make that for us.
I mean, honestly, I was not thinking about making it again because it was like very like tedious to make. But now, in retrospect, since I know what I'm doing, yeah, I'll make it again. It's a good dish to eat throughout the week. It's all vegetables, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's lentils and stuff. It was good.
It sounds delicious.
It was, yeah.
I am upset that she doesn't have some here for us.
I know, I'm so hungry right now.
Right?
Megan?
Time. I think my success is being on your podcast today.
Oh.
Because I wanted to do this. I wanted to be on your podcast because I love that Miles was on my podcast and then to hopefully help with the show.
Yeah.
And then I love the idea of being a guest on your podcast because I love what you guys are doing.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
That's our show. Megan, thank you.
Yay! Thank you.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye. Yeah.